Hey everybody, Jamie Kelly here, and you are watching the Otherworldly Fundraising channel. This is one of the videos from the 2024 online fan convention. We had a lot of fun talking to a wide range of people, actors, writers, cosplayers, you name it, about all kinds of topics. We had a great time, and we know that you're going to get a big kick out of it. The 2024 Otherworldly Fundraising season has been for MomBomb, which is a great organization helping mothers and some fathers who are in distress. It's a great charity, and we were more than happy to help them out. So if you would like to give, check out the information down below. And thank you all so very much. And now, on with the show.
Hello.
Hello, Donelle. It is so very nice to meet you. We had the pleasure of going through the museum back in February when we were out there. And I enjoyed it so incredibly. There's a picture of the Hollywood Museum, and that is just that's amazing. So how long has just for the folks, because we read through all of the signs and paperwork and stuff and had a really good time. How long has the museum been in existence?
We've just celebrated our 21st anniversary.
Wow.
Congratulations.
Very cool. Very
It's
cool.
so exciting because, when we first started, because we didn't have government funding or other people's money, we started by appointment only. And then we graduated to 2 days a week being open from 10 a.m. to 5 p.m. and then 3 days a week. And now it's 5 days a week, Wednesday through Sunday from 10 a.m. to 5 p.m. Closed on Mondays and Tuesdays.
That's really cool.
I will say it was definitely, we went out to LA for a movie premiere, so that's a pretty huge event. But going through the museum was honestly one of the highlights of my trip out there. It was incredible. It was amazing.
Thank you so much. It's a passion project for me. And I wanted to leave something for people from all over the world, tourists, visitors. It doesn't matter what country you come from. There's one word that everybody understands and knows, and that one word is Hollywood. So I wanted to be able to show people from all over the world, locals, professionals alike, what the true story of Hollywood is, how Hollywood got its humble beginnings from once upon a time, what it's become today, and how the Hollywood community grew because of this entertainment industry.
That's awesome. And like I love miniatures especially. So the layouts of like the lots was really cool, and all of and the autographs and the artifacts, and my goodness, how were you able to find so many? I mean, by and large, were they just finding at auctions? Were they donations? Like, how did a lot of that come about?
Well, that's a great question, but I just have to share with you that I am sitting in the historic photo gallery, and on the walls, as you can kind of see the red wall behind me over here, there's about 1,000 vintage black and white photos showing how the Hollywood community, what it looked like when it first was discovered, or more than 100 years ago, as well as so many of the movie premieres, and then all the great stars from Hollywood's golden era. And I think it's kind of fun. We've even got a section that I'm facing now that has those miniatures of the studios, as well as the photographs of the movie stars whining and dining in their favorite nightclub and studio commissary. But behind me, I don't know if you can see it, is a piece of the original Hollywood sign, complete and bullet holes, if you can imagine.
Wow. I bet you there's a couple stories there.
There is. And our visitors can get up close and check it all out. And young starlet, in the 20s, Peg Entwistle, came out from New York. And she was an actress who had appeared in many plays in New York, on Broadway and off Broadway. And she wanted to try her hand in Hollywood. And she was so disappointed because she was getting 1 or 2 walk-on parts, but not enough. And where she was staying, they had told her that she needed to find her own place, and she couldn't do it. And of course, in those days, there was no such thing even as a telephone in everybody's home, let alone fax or email. And She just one day took herself up to the Hollywood sign and jumped off the H. And within a few days afterward, by snail mail, by U.S. Postal Service, she received a letter saying that she had been chosen to have a walk-on part in a film.
Oh,
Wow. Oh my
oh
goodness.
my gosh.
A tribute to her too with this display.
Yeah,
Wow.
that's wow. I mean, such a sad story. You know, you just goes to show, hang in there,
Yeah,
right?
exactly.
What do they say? Patience is key.
Yep. Patience
Absolutely.
is key, especially in movies, because that does not move. None of that moves quickly. Well, it moves slowly, and then for a short, brief period, it moves quickly, and then it moves slowly again.
Well,
Um,
and where I'm standing, I have to say, this room seems to be so interesting. Forget, the thousands of costumes we have, the memorabilia, the star cars, Hannibal Lecter's jail cell. Oh, although, by the way, after Sir Anthony Hopkins received his star on the Hollywood Walk of Fame, Jodie Foster brought him here to the Hollywood Museum.
oh, cool.
That's awesome.
Because he came and he saw the jail cell. And he was very intrigued by the fact that so many of celebrity friends had been here and found exhibits that corresponded to their movies. So we've had so many of the great stars from film and television here. I mean, the three ladies from Knots Landing, Michelle Lee, Joan Van Ark, Donna Mills, all of them have come. In fact, we just saw one of them yesterday evening. Uh, it's just amazing how many stars come here to the museum.
That's awesome. That was actually, yeah, that was going to be one of the other things we were going to say is like, who all is coming? And that's great. And especially since we just talked to Donna Mills earlier, Doug did, and that's awesome. Steph asks in the chat here, do you have a favorite piece in the museum that's your favorite?
Well, you better tell Steph that I do, but I can't say. That's like asking a mother,
Yeah.
who's your favorite child? I mean, she may have that quietly, know perfectly well who it is, but she just won't say it. That's the same for me. We have so many fabulous exhibits. I mean, we have the largest Marilyn Monroe exhibit, Elvis Presley. I mean, TV, favorite TV. So much fun. Our TV shows from the 80s and the 90s and 2000s. It's actually back to the 50s and when it first started, the I Love Lucy show. So we have a lot of that. It's just extraordinary. Our favorite game show hosts, I can't tell you how many of the game show hosts have been here, not only to see the museum, but to visit their own exhibits.
It's really, I love that you mentioned Marilyn Monroe because that was a huge draw for me. That's one of the main reasons I wanted to come to the museum because you have so many incredible pieces of Marilyn. And the fact that you showed that beautiful picture of the building. So it was originally a Max Factor building. And, Marilyn, that's where she first, I believe, became a blonde. Is that correct? Where they first dyed her hair?
Well, it's an interesting story because Marilyn Monroe was born a blonde, but like
Okay.
many natural blondes, by the time they become a teenager, their hair starts to turn darker and medium brown to brunette. And we know with Marilyn's first wedding photos when she married Jim Doherty, I have to say that what really got to me was that her hair was dark in that black and white photo. So her hair had turned, but it was Max Factor who gave her the blonde that we recognize. And she was given that blonde color in our world famous makeup room for blondes only, where Max Factor did all of this work because of the invention of 3-strip Technicolor films. So there's a redheads only room where Lucille Ball got her signature red hair. There's a brunettes only room with all the great brunettes of the time. And as well, we have a brownettes only room. And I wish I could ask all of your viewers, oh my gosh, who knows what a brownette is? I certainly did not when I first came here, but I learned. Max Factor thought that brownettes were anyone who had medium brown hair or lighter. That was about 70% of brunettes.
Yeah. That's really, and as a guy who also enjoys makeup, it was really interesting going into the rooms and we took pictures just kind of as like I don't know, like it's like a science experiment almost, and took pictures of ourselves with the lighting in the room because, as you say, each room is for, one hair color and one style only. And and it is truly amazing the way the lights hit, the way the lights use the color, and everything just hits. It's I love that Max Factor had such a science with that, to just know how to make the different colors pop for different people. It's just so cool.
Well, I appreciate you saying that because it truly is a science, even though there's a tremendous amount of artistic qualities involved in the creation of the different colors. But Max Factor really had a science with all of this. And I always giggle because the world famous makeup rooms are not named after colors of your complexion or skin tones. They're named after hair colors. The
Yeah,
blondes only room, the brunettes only room, the brownettes only room, and the redheads only room. And so, I mean, I should just ask, and I think a lot of the listeners and viewers, I think they're going to think, oh yes, I do know that. I can relate to this. We have so many times friends that change their hair color, and it's a fabulous hair color, just not on them.
right.
And
Absolutely.
and that's because they did not use Max Factor's scientific method to figure out what hue of red should be used when you change your hair from dark brown to blonde or from redhead to blonde or brunette. And I think the proof in the pudding is when we had Jacqueline Smith come to the museum. She was obviously in Charlie's Angels, and she was actually one of the last actresses that had her makeover done in the 70s here in the brunettes only room. And we chatted about that, and she said, oh my goodness, what I went through and how they examined every feature on my face and the color of the hair and the color of the hue of my skin. And did I have enough pink in it, or was there too much blue, or was there too much yellow? And she said, I would have never thought about that.
Yeah, yeah. It's yeah, and well, in between the hair and also makeup science and
We're
how,
talking about an individual, Jacqueline Smith, who is fabulously gorgeous, a natural beauty to begin with.
yeah,
X Factor, he was very precise in all of his calculations.
yeah.
Absolutely.
It really is, the more you dive into different things, whether it's acting or makeup or costumes and everything, uh, the more you start picking the little details and you see all of these things. And I love that the Hollywood Museum has so much of that. You can
And the
there's
history of
yeah,
it,
yeah,
like the
yeah.
progression.
Yeah,
That's what
and the
amazed me.
advertisements, the Max Factor advertisements, talking about the innovations. I mean, all of that stuff was incredible.
Yeah.
It was so cool to see. We were there in February, so we got to see costumes from the Jefferson. Oh, go ahead and put the question back up on the screen. According to what I read, Max Factor purchased the building in 1928. Do you know what it was used for before Max Factor bought the building?
Yes, Max Factor bought it in 1928, a half a minute before the Depression and the crash in 1929. But it was used as the Hollywood Fire and Safe building, and it's a solid poured-in-place concrete building. And a lot of the movie stars stored their valuables here, including, if you can imagine, their automobiles. It was, Mary Pickford and Douglas Fairbanks. They had their 12-cylinder Duesenberg stored here while they would travel from the West Coast to the East Coast, because, in those days you couldn't do it in 6 hours. You had to
Yeah,
take a train, and it took days. And if they were going to go overseas to Europe to, go to a movie premiere or do publicity, it was weeks on end. So they used this facility, many of the movie stars, to store their valuables.
very cool.
Wow, that's amazing.
That's awesome.
And that made, oh, sorry.
I was saying, but that made Max Factor recognize this is a very safe building. It's a fireproof building because it's solid poured in place concrete with steel reinforcement. And so Max Factor thought this was great because in the beginning days, when he would mix color into his powder project, like, eyeshadow or rouge or powder, he actually used explosive charges to mix those colors. So he felt very safe and comfortable that the building would not catch on fire.
Slightly important for experiments like that. That's just and
you know, I
mixing.
have to say, I'm not sure if you knew or not, but you know, we have this fabulous elevator that goes from floor to floor, and this elevator holds 12,000 pounds. And Max Factor used to put his trucks to be able to load up the finished product after the raw product was created, these fabulous makeup products. And he would then load up the trucks on floor by floor because the upper floors were once upon a time Max Factor's factory levels. And bring the truck back down to the ground floor, and they would take the truck out the back loading dock into the alley and either to downtown Los Angeles, to the department stores, or to the train station to be able to send the products all across the United States.
The bar on the elevator at Oster Cinema.
And I have to just share with you, our publicist Harlan is here with me, and he just reminded me, he said, you're talking about the elevator, but talk about the bar. You know, I don't know if you knew this or not, but Max Factor on opening night, which was in November of 1934 here at the museum, he was so excited. It was the night of elections, so election night. He put a bar on the elevator because in those days you had to vote, you know, what shall I say, not being inebriated. So you had to vote sober. And so Max Factor made mention of the fact that, there would be a bar so people could have something to drink. And he invited 200 stars, and over 2,000 people showed up. And
that was actually going to be my question, because we read about the historic kind of events that happened at that building and like the number of stars that were there.
Yeah, well, I do remember seeing, I'm so glad you told that story, because I do remember reading it. But, you know, obviously hearing it from you is a lot better than hearing it from me.
But, you know, it's fun because, you know, I have to tell you, Max Factor, our elevator, it holds 12,000 pounds. So, I mean, he would load 40 people in the elevator. There was a bar in the corner of the elevator. They would slam the door shut, mix cocktails, and he would then open the elevator door on each of the upper levels. And while the guests are sipping cocktails, they're able to tour the factory levels and see the newest and greatest developments of how Max Factor manufactured his product, you know? It's so interesting when you think about it.
Yeah. I mean, that's perfect marketing.
Well, and I'm kind of laughing. The story is so great about having the bar in the elevator that when we do our Oscar viewing parties and our Emmy viewing parties here, everybody wants to have that bar in the elevator. I mean, I'd love to take credit for it, but I cannot. It was Max Factor who came up with this great idea.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
Well, it's cool that you're carrying it on, though. I mean, that's amazing just in and of itself.
Well, can I tell you one more little bit of trivia, just because?
Oh, yes, please do, yes.
So in the lower level, where we have Hannibal Lecter's jail cell today, where Anthony Hopkins came and walked down the jail cell corridor himself and took a look at his cell where he resided for quite some time during the filming of Silence of the Lambs and Red Dragons. You know, I have to share with you that once upon a time during Prohibition days, Max Factor had a speakeasy down there in our lower level. And his brother, Jake the barber, ran the speakeasy. It was a bowling alley and speakeasy.
Very cool.
That's cool. The vibes down there when you toured that area are
they were incredible. Kristen asks, do you have a favorite Jose Iturbi film appearance? Mine is Concerto for Index Finger from Two Girls and a Sailor.
I love it. I love it. You know, I have to share with you, I mean, I loved everything that my godfather did. He brought such dynamicism to it possible. I think it's Chopin's Revolutionary Etude, or maybe it's Rhapsody in Blue, or I don't know, Rachmaninoff Piano Concerto. I have too many favorites, again, you know, but he was quite a musician, quite a pianist. You know, he was the first musician to sell 1 million copies of a record. And I think we'd all think it was probably Elvis Presley or the Beatles, but it was Jose Iturbi in the late 40s playing Chopin's Military Polonaise for piano. And in those days, 1,000,000 copies of one record, that was a lot. That truly was.
Huge.
And to be able to remember this, he has his star on the Walk of Fame for that very reason.
That's cool.
That's
That is
amazing.
really cool. And Kristen, thank you for asking that
Great
question. Yeah. So we were there in February. So like I said, we got to see like the Jeffersons, and we got and I spent so much time just right there. And I know that
Great, the Jeffersons, oh my goodness, yes.
so sorry, say again.
It's great, the Jeffersons, and I have to tell you, Sherman Hemsley, I don't have it up on display, but I have his tuxedo that he wore personally for public appearances. It was his own tuxedo and his own platform shoes that had a 3-inch platform and a 6-inch heel, stacked heel. It was phenomenal.
I love it. That's
We
fantastic.
women have nothing to complain about. If you
More that were with it, hey.
Yeah. That's what I do for my Superman boots. So I'm 6'4". Now I know that area. Oops, sorry, I moved my camera a little bit. I know that area kind of changes out. Is there? Are there? What is it? Just so folks know, kind of like coming attractions, kind of thing. What can you give us a tease of exhibits that either are just in or just about to come in for the museum?
Well, that's so interesting we're chatting about this, because as I'm chatting with you, in the next room is the granddaughter of Roy Rogers and Dale Evans. And we are putting our heads together of how we're going to pay tribute to her grandparents, Roy Rogers and Dale Evans. So that will be coming in the next several months.
That's amazing.
awesome.
I'm definitely, well, my father is a massive, I love it too, but my father's a massive fan. He watched as a kid, so I will definitely. How close are they going to be out there? Probably they're going to Colorado. After knowing that's there, they might kind of make the trek a little further out.
Keep going.
Just kind of keep it going. See, what was the other question I was going to ask you? What would you say the most difficult piece, or maybe a genre of pieces, were to acquire for the museum?
Well, it's always a combination. Sometimes things appear to be very easy to acquire. Oh my goodness, this dress or that suit or this artifact. And then when you get it, you realize how much restoration is needed before you can put it on display. And then how can you protect the fabric? How can you protect the leather? How can you protect, the metal, whatever the artifact is made of? And to be able to do that in a safe way, because you want for your visitors to enjoy it, you want for them to be able to see it, but at the same time you need to protect the artifact itself, the material that it's made of. Right now we have on display from Joseph of Hollywood all the fabulous costume jewelry, and I repeat costume jewelry because you would never know it to look at it. It's so beautiful, from Hollywood's golden era all the way through to today. And the greats like Joan Crawford and Betty Davis wore it, and then all of a sudden Elizabeth Taylor and Marilyn Monroe wore it. And then in the 80s, stars wore it, and so on and so on until now. Ryan Murphy's Hollywood, the stars wore that, as well as Queen Charlotte from the Bridgerton story.
Oh, cool.
Oh, very cool.
Yeah, you did have some stuff from
Yep,
the
I remember
show
that.
when we were there.
And it's really neat to see like some of the. I know we're out of time, but I just wanted to say it's really neat to see those things and know that they're kind of in circulation a bit now too. And we're collectors. We've got some things from like the Twilight Saga, like Screen Worn and some of that stuff. And so we're big nerds. So we feel you for sure. That's just amazing.
Come back, visit us and see what we have from Star Trek, and
Yes.
it's so amazing. Star Wars, Planet of the Apes. My goodness, all of them. There's something for everyone here at the Hollywood Museum in the historic Factor building. Yes.
I know
There
it
is.
took us a long time to go through it to really take the time. So there's so much.
Oh yeah. So okay, very last thing before where can folks find you online?
Oh, well, that's easy. We're at www.thehollywoodmuseum, and for Facebook and Instagram, at Hollywood Museum.
Excellent. Very cool. Well, Donelle, thank you so much. This has been an absolute joy. And I'm just, even for no other thing than the opportunity to say how much we absolutely adored the Hollywood Museum, and we cannot wait to go back and see more. You do a wonderful job. It's gorgeous, and the time and the care that you put into everything cannot be overstated. It is amazing. Thank you so much for all the hard work that you do. You are literally, I'm a big historical preservation guy. You are absolutely preserving history, and thank you for taking the time and the energy to do that.
And I will also add that your price is so reasonable.
Yes.
Like, I was shocked that, it's so affordable to be able to just see so many iconic pieces of history. So thank you for making it accessible.
Yeah.
Well, thank you both so much, and we'll see you in Hollywood.
I love it.
We'll be back. Bye.
Bye. That's so cool. Everybody, Donelle is awesome, and the Hollywood Museum is amazing.
Highly recommend.
Yeah, I can't recommend it enough because it's so cool. We took a ton of pictures, which one of these years will get posted online somewhere. But they've got some replicas too. For instance, when we went, the costumes from the Adam West Batman series. But then you got to see they had the originals. So what they did is they had replicas made with the same types of material and all of this kind of stuff, and they treat it so that way it doesn't. So you can see what the costumes looked like back in the day.
Like the progression.
Yeah, well, you can see what the costumes look like back in the day because the materials that were used to make those don't age very well. They get used up a lot, and so you don't have that. It doesn't look like it did when it was on the show, and a lot of people are like, oh gosh, it's so worn looking. But then that gives them the opportunity to talk about what all goes into attempts at restoration, even just keeping it from deteriorating further. Preservation. They get to talk about that, and that way, so you get to see, because these are they are artifacts from the start of Hollywood all the way through, and so you get to see all of that, and again, all the Max Factor stuff is amazing. The autographs, the letters, the lobby cards, the props, the horror section that is in the bottom. It's truly amazing. And honestly, looking forward to talking with Donelle again and maybe doing an episode for Jackknife going out there as well.
That would be so cool.
That would be incredible.
I would love to ask more questions about the Maryland collection.
We could do like 10 out there because it was so cool.
Yeah.
And they do have things that are changing out. So yeah. So anyway, thank you again so much to Donelle at Hollywood Museum. And so hollywoodmuseum.com, be sure to check them out and donate in the link down below. All right, everybody. Thank you.
Thanks. Bye.
Donate.
Hey everybody, Jamie Kelley here. Hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, be sure to like it, share it, comment on the video, and subscribe to the channel if you've not already. And be sure to check out all of the videos in the 2024 online fan convention for Otherworldly Fundraising. And be sure to check out MomBombs and support them. If you can, check out the links in the description for all the relevant information. Thank you so much. And again, this is Jamie Kelley with EAP Society and Jack Life YouTube channels. And we hope to see you back here at Otherworldly Fundraising real soon. Take care, everybody. Bye.